What's going on with you? Hoping everybody is having a good day. Staying out of the wind because it's windy out there. We'll be driving in the car, be blowing all over the side of the road. Gerard Stevens with you on a Thursday afternoon. That much closer to the weekend, I know. I know. Only one more day to the weekend, right? We got a lot of stuff to talk about today. Hopefully, you are going to be a part of that conversation because we definitely won't get it in. And then the other thing, too, we got guests coming. Dr. Clarence Bickham, who is the program director of Teen Court, Orleans Parish Juvenile Court, and Clark Perkins, who's the attorney, and Gordon Arata, and Montgomery Barnett, probably coming along with him. We're going to have some conversations about the state of Louisiana and Teen Court, what's happening with the Orleans Parish Juvenile Courts. Who's in trouble, knowing your rights and making sure that you know what your rights are. It's going to be our guest today about 4:30. So make sure that you're part of the conversation. So mom, dad, make your kids sit in there and listen because they need to know their rights as well. Okay? So that's going to happen about 4:30 in just a few. Just a few. The other thing, too, we got to talk about, and I was thinking about this, and I want your opinion because it's important. I am so glad that the majority of you voted no for those amendments. Well, what you mean, Gerard? I mean, I'm glad that you all voted no for those amendments that we had to vote on in this election. And the majority of you, I think they said it's about 64% of the people that voted no. Hmm. So why are you glad, Gerard? Why are you glad? I'm glad because I don't know if you all are reading what's going on in the state of Louisiana. But did you all see that your governor has now put together what he is considering a freeze on hiring? Because they don't know what's going on with the budget for the state of Louisiana. So they had to put a freeze on it, and they're not going to give up no money, right? Well, here we go, yo. And the reason I am bringing that up is part of that amendment, when we started talking about the kids, started talking about schools, part of that amendment was that there would be a $2,000 stipend that would go toward, not stipend, but an increase in your paycheck, right? If you voted and put these different, I guess, budgets or funds and wipe them out and put that money into a different account. So let's say that we did vote. Has there been any information? Did anybody ask any information? Says what happens with the budget if you're not meeting or putting the rubber down to make this money to have a balanced budget? So if that money doesn't come and it makes it an unbalanced budget, do you now also put together a hiring freeze and hold that money and not give it to those folks that are thinking, hey, I'm going to get this $2,000 bump in my salary? And was there ever any conversation about who would get that money. What? Yeah. Because what was not discussed is that some of these monies would not be available for all teachers. Oh no. For real though? Yes. It would not be available for all teachers. Some teachers would be it would be available for, other teachers it would not be available for. Oh no. Hmm. So what does that mean to the people now? I'm trying to figure out, did you all look at this and say, wait a minute, but you just told us that if we put this money in and vote this amendment in, that, we got a $2,000 bump in our salaries. But on the other hand, several days later, we're reading that you have put together a hiring freeze for state employees. You can't hire nobody else because you don't know where the budget gonna go. But what if I'm expecting that money? And we did vote. I'm just saying, what if? Would you still be coming back and saying, we don't know what we're gonna do, so we got a hiring freeze? And if we got a hiring freeze, that means you watching the budget closely. And if you're watching the budget that closely, does that mean that these folks that are expecting or were expecting or could have been expecting this money would not get it? Humbra. What does that mean? What does all that mean? I think there would have been some mad folks. Some very, very mad folks. Because you said, and then I would have been sitting back there and saying, I guess they showed you better than they could tell you. They showed you better than they could tell you. So congratulations to you. Now, the other part of this conversation piece that we're going to have today makes me look around and ask the questions about the Orleans Parish School Board, who has made its mind up and said, yep, we got our superintendent. Am I questioning it? Nope. You can, but I'm not. I want to hear what you have to say about it, because she was already interim. She was already interim. And since she handled it, they said, go ahead on and give it a job. Let her have it. It sounded like we was going to be the special man. Let her have it. So now we have our superintendent of schools for the Orleans Parish School Board. The interim, who has taken on the responsibility, let everybody know, and I think in her I think in her presentation she said, you know what, I show up every day. That's 90% of the battle, just showing up. The rest of the battle, I would like to know, how do you explain to the people of New Orleans about the problems with the budget? How do you explain that? And is that something that you require to be an explanation? Let that sink in for a minute. Do you require, not them, because it's apparent to me that they ain't trying to tell you everything that's going on, but do you require that to be a full explanation of this money that's missing since Avis Williams stepped down? And how do they explain that? Because nobody has explained. All you told me was the money was missing. With no explanation, did somebody back a truck up? Did y'all put it in there for kindling to keep warm during the time that it was cold? Did it fall off the back of the truck? Did somebody borrow it and say, I'm going to bring it back? What had happened? Things that make you go, And then at 4:30 today, let me make sure we explain this. So the question is, do you know your rights as a teen? So the Orleans Parish Juvenile Court's Teen Court Program will be here today talking about Do You Know Your Rights and Make It Right Conference. It's in partnership with Tulane Law. And they're saying that, you know what, 2025, Know Your Rights and Make It Right, the conference, making place on Saturday, April 5th. That's going to be free and open to the public. It's going to be from 11 o'clock until 3 o'clock at St. Augustine High School. That's at the Raymond M. Fritz Jr. Multimedia Center, located at 2600 AP Tour Row in New Orleans. It's free, open to the public. Maybe we need to send all our kids there so they'll know their rights before they get picked up. Yep, we don't want that to happen. We don't want that to happen. So that's where that is. All right. I hope that works for you. But I don't want to give all the information away because I got pages of information here and the program. And the program. So that's going to be about 4:30. All right. Don't y'all go nowhere. We got to take our first break of the day, and we'll take some of your telephone calls at 504-582-9422. More coming up. Everybody hold tight.
That's right. It's party time each and every Sunday night at 7 p.m. on WBOK. It's the Throwback Throwdown with DJ Wick as he brings you the best in old school from the 70s, 80s, 90s, and the early 2Ks. Plus, the party goes to another level at 9 p.m. with the Throwback Throwdown Party Mix to round out the night. It's the Throwback Throwdown Sunday nights at 7 p.m. on WBOK 1230 a.m. and on the World Wide Web at WBOK1230.com.
The New Orleans Jazz and Heritage Foundation is the nonprofit organization that owns the New Orleans Jazz and Heritage Festival presented by Shell. With the funds generated from Jazz Fest, the foundation invests in Louisiana companies through economic development, cultural enrichment, and free educational programs. To learn more about what the New Orleans Jazz and Heritage Foundation does, please visit www.jazzandheritage.org.
Welcome to Chemical of the Month by the community scientists at Rise St. James. This month we spotlight phthalates, chemicals added to plastics, especially PVC, to make them more flexible and durable. But there's more. Research shows phthalates may disrupt hormones, affect reproductive health, and contribute to environmental pollution impacting our communities. Join us as we explore how these additives shape our everyday lives and the world around us. For more details, visit risestjames.org. Empower your knowledge with Rise.
New Schools for New Orleans is committed to celebrating the hardworking teachers of New Orleans Public Schools. Join us at the 4th Annual NOLA Teacher Fest, sponsored by the All-State Sugar Bowl New Orleans Teacher Community. The NOLA Teacher Fest is happening Friday, May 2nd at Champion Square from 4 to 7 p.m. The fest is open to teachers, paraprofessionals, deans, coaches, counselors, and other school support staff. Visit our website to learn more and RSVP, www.newschoolsforneworleans.org.
Making a difference in the community. WBOK 1230 AM. Here we go. The reality check on WBOK 1230 AM.
All right, folks, welcome back. Welcome back. Our number 504-582-9422. We got guests in the studio already. But you just let me know something. This is not your first rodeo. Really? Okay, but this is your first time here though in the studio though. So let's say we'll still use that. Wait a minute, hold on. Let me get you to introduce yourself too, because I don't want to just be talking and you be like, I didn't get my dream answered. So come on, sit up close to that microphone.
Okay.
Introduce yourself.
Hello. My name is Laura Tennyson, and I'm excited. This is my first time on air at WBOK 1230 AM.
So I'm gonna go back for a minute and tell you about Laura.
Yes.
We used to work together when I was at the other radio station.
Mm-hmm.
And House of Blues.
House of Blues.
And where else too? Some other stuff too.
With the Jazz Playhouse.
Yeah.
With Irvin.
So
Mayfield.
I'm old, Laura. I'm old now. So
No, we did some great
we did
things.
some good
We
things
did some
together.
great,
Yeah, for sure.
put some awesome music,
Yeah.
emerging artists on the map.
Telling you that nobody has done some of the stuff that we have done since then.
Mm-hmm.
I'm just bragging a little bit. I'm gonna stop in a minute.
No, it was
So-
very
so-
instrumental to the success of so many
some
people's
of the different
careers.
things that happened in the city of New Orleans that took them to another stage.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, you were
Yeah.
responsible for some of that as well. So good. I haven't seen. When the last time I saw you? God, no. that
It's
had
been
to be,
many,
at
many,
least 10,
probably
15
post Katrina.
years.
Yeah, post Katrina when
Yeah.
I was still with House of Blues and we were working a lot. But we broke so many new artists from Erykah Badu,
Yeah.
Outkast.
Yep, you telling your age. Laura,
Yeah.
you telling your age. Mhm.
But now, I'm working with the Orleans Parish Juvenile Court to kind of raise awareness. You look familiar too. Right. And I'm really very excited about this project right now, just raising awareness about all these incredible programs that the court,
Change your video.
that the teen court has. So, and we have these incredibly strong and powerful young professionals who are working on
Yes, sir. How are
helping
you?
people know their rights.
Good. How about yourself?
Good. Introduce yourself, please.
Yes. Hello, everyone, listeners. My name is Tyson Moss. I'm an attorney here in New Orleans.
You an attorney, Tyson?
Yes, sir.
Yes,
sir,
indeed.
I am.
We need your services. No, I'm just joking. I'm just joking.
Of course. Look, give me a call.
Yes. No. Introduce yourself. I'm sorry. I'm talking about your dad, but introduce yourself.
I'm Clark Perkins and White Tyson. I'm also a young, I think that word is pretty relative, but a young attorney in the city.
I don't know what it is.
That better?
Can you hear me? Okay. Well, I'm Clark Perkins, and like Tyson, I am a young attorney in the city, and we're both very involved with teen court program here in New Orleans. And
So, Miss Perkins, everybody know your dad.
everybody, please, I hope he's not listening, and I hope he didn't hear that.
Yeah, Chuck Perkins, Chuck Wagon.
the Chuck
Chuck
Wagon,
Wagon, yes,
yeah, the
indeed.
conscious hour, right?
Yeah. How you doing?
He's
I haven't
doing,
talked to Chuck in a while.
He's doing fabulous. Like Miss Laura said, he has a book that's coming out this summer, Beautiful and Ugly too. So he's really excited about that, and I'm sure you'll hear about that soon.
I can remember now that I'm dating myself here. I can remember when Chuck would talk about you
Oh yeah.
when you were getting ready to go to college.
Oh yeah. My time at LSU.
Yeah, and he was like, my baby going to school. My so now we done seen who the baby is.
Yep. And I spent some time writing for the Daily Reveille, which is LSU's newspaper out there, and I was an opinion columnist. And one thing I always did, because I am my father's daughter, was speak the truth. So he spent a lot of time talking about my articles and reading them on air as well.
Well, good. Welcome everybody. Let's find this out because I think that we could start off the conversation with we're living in some different times now with a state of Louisiana that is now talking about legislation and laws that have been passed to say that you have 3 different areas of Louisiana, Caddo Parish, East Baton Rouge, and Orleans Parish that has a significant number of African American males and females and young people that are now being visible to any type of promotion like the websites and stuff if they get in trouble. Why not anywhere else? Anybody want to stab that one? I didn't say answer. I said stab it.
You know, honestly, I don't entirely know. And that says a lot. As somebody who has studied law for 3 years and have been in practice for the last couple of years. So that is one of the reasons why we're hosting this Know Your Rights and Make It Right event. Because if even I, as an attorney, and I know Tyson kind of gave me the eyes, like, you want to answer that? Because I don't know. If we don't know something like that, how can we expect, you know, the citizens of the state who don't have this legal education to know things like that? So education is fundamental. So we're really just trying to gather everybody in one space so we could even just talk about your core rights, because to go through all of the laws, man, we would need well more than 3 hours. Okay. So in those 3 hours, we're going to really get down to, you know, your rights when it comes to your encounters with the police, you know, when speaking specifically to like your 5th and your 14th Amendment. And then when it goes to, you know, you talked about the current climate. So in the current climate, we're seeing immigration from a different light. And while all of us in here, I don't want to speak for anybody, we're citizens, so immigration rights may not affect us personally, but one thing, and I see the way y'all, Ms. Laura and you as well, you know, you have your community. Y'all have done so much work together. So community is important, which means allyship is important. So even if we may not be immigrants, we need to know those rights so we could let our fellow neighbors know their rights as well. And then from there, we're going to talk about, we have Professor Snowden who will be talking about the Juror Project and why.
The what project?
The Juror Project. You know, everybody's so scared of jury duty. I actually have my cousin.
Nobody wants to take off that day.
And you know what? I actually just sat on a jury 2 weeks ago, and thankfully, the Juror Project made me look at it from a different outlook. So we're just going to have so many things that are just going to bring us together as a community and just inform everybody of what their rights are and encourage people to use them.
So let's talk about that part too. The jury. I've noticed that a lot of folks just don't like doing jury duty.
Yes.
Why would you think that is? Because that is their duty.
Well, because again, and I just did it 2 weeks ago for the first time. So I have a new lens. It was 4 days, Monday through Thursday, in which I'm not at work, and I'm on a salary. But imagine if you're hourly. That's time you're not getting paid. And then if you're not even selected to be on the jury, you still have to sit in the jury lounge for about like a regular shift, 9 to 5 p.m., and you don't get paid anything. So no, people are not just willy-nilly to go do jury duty, but it's so important that a jury is just made up of people that looks like us, that is well represented. So it's really, really important. And Professor Snowden is he's a professor at Loyola, but he's the co-founder of the Juror Project. And it was when I heard him speak for the first time, he made me think of being in the jury in a different light. And it's so important because we're here on behalf of Teen Court, in which the Restorative Justice Program has a jury made up of teens in which are deciding punishment, for the lack of a better word, the sentencing for teens which have committed first-time misdemeanors, nonviolent offenses, and that jury is deciding what that teen needs to do in order to restore themselves. So it's just really, really important, whether it be for teen court or actual court, that we know the importance of jury duty. It is important, even though it's inconvenient, But like I've been saying a lot, and I'm about to get off my soapbox, but we're going to have to get very comfortable with being inconvenienced.
All right, bro. I can tell this is Chuck Perkins' daughter. No ifs, ands, and buts. Would you like to say something?
Yeah, I'll go ahead and follow that up. And just to echo what Clark was saying, it's such an important duty. It's a civic duty that a lot of people just pass by. And what a lot of people don't know is if you don't show up, there are criminal penalties and repercussions for you for not exercising your civic duty.
Yeah.
I mean, showing up for jury duty is just as important as going out to the polls and vote.
Let me ask you this, though, as an attorney, because one of the things, too, that I've noticed, especially in the state of Louisiana, I'm not going to just say New Orleans, but in the state of Louisiana, you know, when you hear of some of the, I would say some of the things that aren't so serious, all crimes are serious, but when you hear some things that aren't, you know, to the max penalties that I've seen some of the folks go to jail for, and I sit back and say to myself, what happened? And then you do the research and you find out the jury didn't look like me.
Yeah. Yeah.
The jury looked like another parish somewhere else. And I think that sometimes we get it mixed up that we talk about districts. Districts don't necessarily mean I'm talking about folks that live in New Orleans. I could be talking about somebody that lives in another parish that has a different demographic and different makeup. And those could be the people that are seated that are looking at you or looking at me and saying, you're guilty before I even sit up there and make a choice by hearing what it is.
Exactly.
How often would you say that happens? And I'm not saying this anything in particular, but I'm saying this in a sense of how often have you noticed it? And don't let me get you in trouble too as an attorney. I want the bar calling you up.
I know. I know how to be careful, but
to suspend some folks now.
Yeah, it's important. I mean, you can just look at history. You can just pull up your phone and look at all the people, especially in this state, have been wrongfully incarcerated, who have spent their lives behind a prison cell for either something they didn't do or for something that, you know, the laws have been reformed to such an extent that it's no longer considered that much of a heinous crime.
Right.
And it's so important for everybody to realize because, you know, a lot of people just say, oh, it's happening. But when it happens to you or your loved one or your mother, your father, your son, your cousin, you know, then it kind of gets your attention. But your attention needs to be on it 24/7.
Right.
You know, this state of Louisiana, the state that we're living in this day and age. You know, we are one of the states with one of the highest incarceration rates in the world. You know, and majority of those people that are in prison right now, they had to stand before a jury of 12 people who's going to determine their guilt, who's going to determine their life course and how hard and how impactful that change is going to be on what their future looks like, what their family's future looks like, what their children's future looks like.
Right.
So it's so important for people to exercise their right, you know, to go sit on a jury. You know, these are people, oftentimes they're not, they're people that look like us. You know, they're people who come from similar backgrounds, people we went to high school with, you know, and then you're now seeing that person. More than likely,
we know somebody
that knows somebody. Exactly.
That knows somebody that knows somebody. I do a lot of work, you know, in all disclosure here. I do a lot of work every day with the Sheriff's Department. Orleans Parish Sheriff's Department, even though that we're not on the street patrolling and, you know, checking your ID and all this other stuff that goes on with law enforcement, other agencies, we see, and the main job of the Sheriff's Department here in Orleans Parish is making sure that you are housing these folks that are being put in. Now, the regular number, I think, for the Orleans Parish Sheriff's Jail is comfortable, maybe 800, 900, somewhere in that area. We're at 15.
Wow.
Because you now have this so-called tough on crime attitude coming out of the state. Plus, we got a new law enforcement agency of state troopers, NOLA state troopers that are patrolling the streets and so-called cleaning it up. You have so many folks that are watching or calling themselves the watchdogs that if I give you a break because I think it's you're going to do right, you know, then I'm being called soft on crime. So
there's a stigma attached.
It's a stigma attached.
And then, you know, at the same time, you also have to worry about the public's response to law enforcement's response to crime and how they treat, you know, people who have committed these offenses and the effects. Because, you know, as we said, we are a community, whether it's the good parts or the bad parts. It all makes up each and every one of us. So, you know, even with that, you know, it takes a lot to get in there to see how we can make these changes and make these reforms because, you know, history can show you retribution is a flawed system of criminal justice.
But
It
it
just
takes
creates a
more
cycle.
money to reform that person.
Yes.
I'm sorry, to lock that person up than to reform that person, or at least give them the opportunity to reform. So the average number, when you start talking about how much it costs per year to incarcerate someone, you're talking about my tax dollars, somewhere between $45,000 to $75,000, depending on how much stuff they need otherwise. Because in Orleans Parish Jail, we have 55% of the folks in there need mental health help.
Yep.
I was like, what?
Yep.
Yeah, they got some type of something that they need mental health help with. You know, they got to go to the doctor. And then that's not including the number of people that they have to transport different places. Might have done something here, but got to go to another part of the town. Then you got to take a deputy or the vehicle, the gas, everything to take them over there.
It's a large
and then
expense.
if you're in that area and they say, oh, well, you know, we can't get to you today, you got to
just
come
sit.
back tomorrow.
Yep.
So
Yep.
it's a whole lot of monies involved in that, and I don't think a lot of people even
They
consider.
don't even realize it. And that's what it's going to say. If we're increasing incarceration rates, it's a terrible direction that we're heading to as a state, as a country. We're going to foot the bill for that when we should be investing in implementing and uplifting programs like we have with Teen Court to kind of come in and change the behavior, figure out what the root of the problem is, so that the next generation, they're not plagued with these same challenges that we are today. So that way we can, like I said, break that cycle of recidivism, try to get in early and stop and curb the activity, the criminals.
The recidivism rate
everything.
for Orleans Parish is 7 and 8 times. 7 to 8 times. So if you go first, this is your first time, I know that I'm going to at least see you again back here in the jail at least 7 more times. And which really kills me is the fact that you have folks that have the mother, the father, the grandparents, your uncles,
the village,
locked up in there all together.
Yep.
And I'm like, wait a minute, did y'all just go down the whole damn street and grab everybody? I'm sorry, let me be right and do this, because you came in just a few minutes ago. I want you to introduce yourself, please, sir, to everybody, so everybody will know who you are, because I don't want you just sitting there looking like, yep, because you amen us a couple of times.
Of course. Dr. Clarence J. Bickham. I'm the
How you doing, Dr. Bickham?
person that do all this with Teen Court.
Yes.
Same thing you're talking about. I'm the coordinator of everything at Teen Court. Some of the things you're talking about, the generational crimes, generational recidivism rates, things like that, all that is part of what we try to do at Teen Court. First time nonviolent offenders, status crimes, something simple, but then still when they come to Teen Court, they plead guilty, and then our young people are the ones that give them their sentencing.
I think I saw there was there a piece on television?
Channel 6, that was
Tyson was on it.
I did.
We was there. We was
and,
too.
and it's the teens that give out the I want to say the
sentencing.
punishment,
The
the
sentencing.
sentencing.
Well, they're
Yes.
the judge, they're the defense attorney, they're the prosecutor, they're the jury. And I think this is a nice time for Dr. Bickham for you to talk about the recidivism rate when it comes to Teen Court.
Well, people don't believe us. You know, I was interviewed, like you said, on Channel 6, and since 2019, we had over 200 students that came through Teen Court. Out of that, our recidivism is 2. Two people have been recidivated.
Okay.
Now, everybody said, well, how you do it, Bickham? It's not me. It's young people like this that, come, and it's the village approach. Everybody has a clique, 3 or 4 people that they hang out with.
Right.
So,
I'm glad you used that word.
Yeah.
Because what has been, I think, put down to us is you call the kids in a clique, but those that don't have any idea about what they are, and who they're hanging with, they call it gangs.
Yeah.
And they don't know the definition of a gang.
Right, exactly. So we developed a clique that are young people from all over the city that volunteer on a Saturday morning for 9 o'clock to help turn the community around, how to save a generation. Now, because these young people come in there, the ones that we get through the court system, they want to be like these other young people.
So are they really?
These are
Did
actual
they really
crimes.
do something wrong?
Yes.
Yes.
They really did something wrong, and the court system is saying You take them.
Yes.
Right.
Your
Yes.
kids, really?
It's
Yeah.
very important, crucial work. And I'm
That's
happy.
Chuck Perkins.
Yes, it is. Yes, it is.
I got involved with the program back in 2022, and man, has it grown. And I'm just always so inspired by especially somebody like Dr. Bickham. And I always say you can't be in his presence and not want to do great. So I have now joined the team, and along with Tyson, and we got the law schools in the city, Tulane and Loyola, involved. And we're just spreading the word, because not only do we need more teens, but anybody listening, it's part of it is a mentorship program.
Right.
So we need
But
everybody.
How do you, and this is where my learning curve is. How do you get the courts, the DA, all those that are the judges? How do you get them to participate? Because you had to coordinate every law enforcement agency, the judges, the prosecutors, all of them.
Well, see, the way we do
You
it,
walking around with a bottle of Tylenol.
first it's first time nonviolent offenders.
Okay.
Now, once they come to teen court, they get their sentencing, which is not punitive, it's restorative. Community service, apology letter, composition report, be good in school, not drop out of school, not miss days in school, all that kind of, we program all that into the sentencing. So we are there watching them, keeping an eye on them, make sure they do the right thing.
And they're not supposed to at all go
Commit
against
another
it.
crime.
Right.
But at the same time, guess what happens? When they finish teen court,
They
their case
come
get
back.
expunged. Gone.
Wow.
So that's the incentive.
That's what you call a chance, a
Yes.
second chance.
Yes. Yes. And it works because these young people see other people just like them as attorneys, prosecuting defense attorneys, as judges, judging them. And guess what? When they get up there and question them, because I'm your peer, oh, I know the questions to ask you, buddy.
Right. Right. Because I know what you did. I know, and that. Never mind. I'm not gonna say that part. But,
And then at the same time, when these kids go back into their neighborhoods, they act different. They do different things. I'm gonna give you a clear example. If a young man running down the street, I ask him all the time, and the police stop, what you gonna say? Oh man, I ain't doing that. Why they stopping me? I said, no, wrong answer. Your name, your mom name, your dad name, or whoever you live with name, address, and phone number. That's it.
And I mean, going to our Know Your Rights event this Saturday, the teens and really other community members, there's no age limit on who this information will be useful for, but you'll learn what to do in those type of encounters. Unless you're given your Miranda right to be quiet, don't say anything. And I know that's what one of the attorneys is going to say, who's going to be speaking about like criminal rights, to be quiet.
Right.
So there's different things, because you'll
you
learn.
have the right to remain.
You have the
silent.
right, but guess what? That right is waived with consent. So even if somebody asks you something along the lines of, well, do you mind telling me this, or do you mind showing me this? And you're like, yeah, I'll show you. You've waived your rights.
Right.
So it's just little things like that, in which is really, really important to know, and is the purpose of the event that we're holding this Saturday. What is that, April 4th? April 5th at 11 a.m. at St. Augustine High School. All are welcomed, and we're really, really hoping for a nice turnout, because, again, especially in this day and age, it's very, very important.
I'll tell you what we'll do. Let's take a break here real quick, and we'll come back. Also, the phone lines are wide open, y'all. 504-582-9422. 504-582-9422 if you got questions. More coming up, y'all. Everybody hold tight.
Attention, WBOK listeners. Are you a fan of the station and want to show your support in style? Well, we've got some exciting news for you. Introducing the official WBOK merchandise, the perfect way to wear your love for the station. Whether you're a longtime listener or a new fan, we've got something for everyone. Head to WBOK1230.com now and grab your WBOK gear before it's gone. When you buy WBOK merch, you're not just getting quality items, you're supporting the station you love.
Connect with NOLA Public Schools. Follow us on Instagram, Facebook, and X for the latest updates. Sign up for District Digest, our official newsletter where we share district achievements, celebrate student successes, and keep you informed about our vision of providing a high-quality education. And don't miss our school board meetings. Watch in person or live stream on YouTube. Stay informed. Stay engaged. Visit NOLAPublicSchools.com today. Again, that's NOLAPublicSchools.com.
Visit DePaul's new Algiers Health Center at 2801 General de Gaulle Drive to receive primary and preventive care for both adults and children. Services also include behavioral health, imaging, and on-site pharmacy, vision, Medicaid enrollment assistance, and more. For appointments, visit DePaulCommunityHealthCenters.org or call 504-207-3060.
Listen up, fellow Gen Xers. Elizabeth Banks here. The recommended age for pneumococcal pneumonia vaccination has been lowered to 50 and older, even if you're healthy. It's up to us to lead the way. We've done this before. Music videos, fanny packs, even the World Wide Web. Let's do it again and get vaccinated, because we're at over 6 times greater risk for pneumococcal pneumonia. Gen X, this is our shot. Visit VaxAssist.com and schedule a vaccine today. Sponsored by Pfizer.
I'm Wendell Pierce. Thanks for making WBOK your station. WBOK, 1230 a.m.
Here we go. The reality check on WBOK 1230 a.m.
All right, folks, welcome back. Our number 504-582-9422. Today we're having a big conversation. Dr. Clarence Bickham, who's the program director of Teen Court for the Orleans Parish Juvenile Court, Miss Perkins, Mr. Gordon, and I also got Miss Tennyson in the building. That's my partner.
That's everybody's partner.
That's my partner. I haven't seen her in years. That's why I was like, when I looked at the door, I don't know if you saw me when I was peeping. I was like, that's Laura. I know her. Like, where you been? We were responsible for a lot of the hip hop scene and a whole bunch of stuff back in the day. This is back in the day when I didn't have all this gray hair, Laura. Let's go back to where we were, what we were talking about. You were giving us some insight too, just a minute ago, about how we are to look at this and who was involved. You said that the juvenile court judges are also involved.
Yeah, and again, I'm a volunteer, and I'm very happy to be a part of the program. I guess you could consider me like one of the facilitators, our mentors. But I think Dr. Bickham would know better about the actual structure of it.
Mm-hmm. See, what happened was the juvenile court years ago, when they first made laws, they had to have some preventative system in place.
Mm-hmm.
So the judges at juvenile court decided, hey, we're going to bring back teen court. We lost it in 2005 when Katrina hit. We lost funding. 2019, we got the grant back. So since that time, we've been working hard to redo this program. And because of the judges' involvement, the judges sit on a bench and they see a kid that did a status offense, something minor.
Mm-hmm.
And they say, well, looking at this kid, I think they need a second chance. So the judges say, okay, I'm going to get this young person a second chance. But their lawyers, public defenders or private lawyers, has to allow the young person to plead guilty. That's how they get into teen court. They have to plead guilty first.
Mm-hmm.
Once they plead guilty, then we have to get them their sentencing. But the judges, prosecutor, and defense attorney all have to agree that this young person deserves a second chance.
Right.
Mm-hmm. So once they come to us, because again, Dr. Bickham as the director, he does a lot of the stuff that happens behind the scenes before I just show up on Saturday morning at 9 a.m. But once we show up, we have the teen there that has already pled guilty. And it's really, for me, of course, it's the court system and making sure they're restored, and we go through the whole hearing. And again, we have the attorneys who are all teens. We have the judge who is a teen. We have the jury who's a teen.
So everybody's a teen.
Everybody's a teen, and we're there to assist the teens, but we are not the star of the shows. We're just there as assistants. But before that, because I know Tyson is typically helping with prosecution, I'm typically helping with defense. So I get to
See
talk
how we go
to
against each other?
yes,
Yep.
pretty
On the
much. So we get to meet with the defendant.
Tyson, you no, I'm sorry.
She's a worthy opponent, I'll tell you that. Clark gives me a run for my money sometimes. But at the end of the day, it's all about helping the kids, helping the young person who made a mistake and helping them to make this right.
Do you talk to them beforehand?
And that's what I was getting to, is we have a lot of mentorship that comes with it.
Okay.
And that's one of my favorite aspects.
How do they feel? I mean, it's got to be a humbling experience to know that your peers are getting ready to say, you know, this is what here is your this is the consequence of your actions.
Right.
That's what make the recidivism rate so low.
Really?
Yeah.
And that's what we try to do. We don't try to make a complete and total replica of the court system, right? Although we do a full mock trial, it's openings, closings, direct, cross-examined, everything in between. But our goal of this program is not to just expose another young person, a young mind, to the harshness of what it's like to be over there on Broad and Tulane. Right, the legal system. Or over there to be on Broad and Tulane.
Right.
You know, that's not our goal. Our goal is to show them that this program, being in a room full of your peers from all ages, different ages of the community. You know, I have students that are like, in 9th, 10th grade. We're coaching them and we're showing them, we're mentoring them. How do you handle these legal issues, right? How do you spot the crimes? How do you look up these laws? How do you craft an opening statement to really get their minds critically thinking on how the legal system works? But at the same time, for the individual who committed the offense, the goal of it is to make them and show them that they have a support system here. Even if it's people younger or older than them, my age, attorneys, you know, people of different professions, people in the community that we literally serve are here trying to help them change their life course, trying to do better.
So give me this though, and I don't know if I'm asking this one to you, Dr. Bickham, but I am saying, as a young person, that's got to be a humbling experience that the person who's going to decide what the consequences of your actions will be is somebody of your peer, but it also curved the recidivism rate. How? What was it that curved that recidivism rate to make you go, I ain't gonna do that no more? Oh, nah. I would think that you would get that more so from the adults than you would get it amongst your peers, but they take it serious.
Yeah, they take it serious. Plus, you got to realize we got Tulane pre-law, Loyola pre-law students in there.
Or no, the actual law students, not pre-law.
Law students, excuse me.
That's Chuck Perkins' daughter, right?
Yeah, she always corrects me. But it's okay. But the thing is, after the hearing is over, we don't call it a trial, we call it a hearing. After it's all over, all the law students stand up and talk about who they are, where they're from, what aspect of law they're going into. One day we had a guy stand up, all you guys need to know me. He said, why would you need to know him, Dr. Bigman? I said, I don't know, listen to him. He said, how many of you guys want to have your own business? You know, everybody going to raise their hand. He was in entertainment law, trademark law. He said, you know, we're trying to craft them, let them know there's more than just Dudley DeBossier and that other guy that's on there.
Fall.
But they get to see other aspects of the law. Yeah. And it you know, it's something like that. It's like you see the light bulb come on in your head. Wow, this guy talking about, you know, you got that 1230 on your shirt. I can't just use that on anything.
Right.
That's a trademark.
Right.
So it started, you know, festering in my mind. Wow, I want to do this, you know, but I need to do that. And everybody got a lawyer. Every position, every job got their own lawyer.
How many young, I won't say kids, young folks are you talking about on a weekly basis, or how many times do we do this?
Well, we try to meet twice a month.
Okay.
You know, but it's based on if we have young people that came to the court system. But when we don't have young people come to court system, Tulane and Loyola, the workshops. To talk to them about.
So this is what this is on Saturday, then,
yes.
correct?
So Saturday is typically the hearings where we'll have 1 to 2 hearings. And then if there's enough time, we'll follow up with the workshop. Or if we don't have any hearings that day, we will do a workshop. But to your point, you know, how are we able to be so successful in teen court? I mean, there's so many different factors. Tyson and Dr. Bickham named a few. But before I went to law school, I was a high school teacher. And I really...
You were in high school. Come on.
Yeah. I was a high school teacher. And, you know, you really just realize that a lot of these kids want to be seen. They want to feel understood. They want to know that people actually care about them. So when we're there, that is one of my missions, aside from the hearing, which again is very important work, but to say, I see you, I'm cheering for you, you got this, but you can't go on making these same mistakes because you're not always going to get a second chance.
Right.
And it will derail all of your plans because they come in, they tell us, you know, their dreams and their aspirations, what they want to do. But a lot of it boils down to, one, a mistake, two, a lack of knowledge. But again, another thing we're going to touch on at the Know Your Rights event, that unfortunately, ignorance is not an excuse to the law.
Yeah.
That's not going to get you out of a lot of things.
Let's take this telephone call. Ronald, you've been holding for a minute. What you say?
Hello. Thank you for taking my call. Dr. Bickham, 2 weeks ago, I saw him at the Sheriff Job Fair. Not only do he worry about help young folks, but he had some old folks he was bringing to do about jobs. And I just have to call and give him his bouquet. I mean, 35, 40 years I've been knowing Dr. Bickham. It's always been about other people, not itself. And I know when he talked about this program at the table 2 weeks ago, you all should have witnessed the fire in his eyes, the hope and aspiration he had for our young folks. And I mean, he brought young folks to see about some employment with the sheriff office, steady working on a Saturday. Plus, when he was telling me about what was going on with this program, man, if I could have filmed the energy and the feelings and the hope in the bottle, I would be in the stock market today. I want to thank you publicly, Reverend Bickham. I know you're a true soldier. You've been like this for 30, 40 years. And I just want to congratulate you publicly because I know where your heart is. I know it. But I'm going to say this here. They got three guys I know on assignment: Kendall Francis, Gerard Stevens, and Reverend Bickham. And I'm going to name some other folks, but you're on assignment, and you're doing your assignment real well, and I want to thank you all publicly. And thank you again, Dr. Bickham, because I know where your heart is. Like I said, if you all would have saw this guy the other day, you would have like, wow. I mean, he was into it, the same program. And once again, thank you, Gerard, for bringing this out to the public, that folks can understand they got people working, love what they're doing. They care about our youth. They care about our tomorrow. And thank you all again. Keep up the good work. Whatever I can do, just don't ask me to sing. Count me in.
All right, Ron.
All right, Ron.
All right.
All right. So, and I know Ronald very well, but one of the things, Dr. Bickham, I know that we have to have, and that is at the Sheriff's Department. I just don't want them to think probably the same thing they think about with the criminal system or juvenile or the justice system. You know, they can lock you up. There's so many different jobs over there. I was like, how many jobs? I got maintenance jobs. They got people doing body and fender work over there. They got so many different. It's like a big city just over there. They ain't got to lock you up. Just come on over there, and they hiring 18-year-olds.
Well, two of my volunteers say, Dr. Pick, we're going to try to get a job. I said, okay. We was right after teen court was over with. I went with them.
Okay. You got some more?
Huh?
You got some more?
Oh, we're always trying to bring kids through there.
Bring them.
Because the thing is, we don't want to just be with you inside the courthouse.
Right.
We want you to know we're with you outside the courthouse. And that's what these two young people see when they first come in. They don't know what to expect. I say, okay, Gerard, here's your defense team.
Yeah.
You got 4 or 5 people that asking questions, talking to you. That's your defense team. And on the other end, Tyson got his prosecution team.
Mm-hmm.
You know, they get a narrative of what happened.
Tyson ain't sticking with you no more, bro. He's trying to prosecute.
But that's what it's all about.
We got to take a break. We got news. Y'all got time? How much time y'all got?
We got your time.
We got some more time?
Yeah,
all right.
we got time.
Hang out for a minute. We'll come back. Take some more telephone calls, y'all. More next. News is coming up.
From the campus of Xavier University. WBOK 1230 AM. Go. An Equity Media Station.
I'm Amber Payton with 4 things you should know with BIN News. Wall Street is closing sharply lower after President Trump announced new global tariffs. The S&P 500 dropped 5%, its worst day since 2022, as a 10% tariff takes effect Saturday. The Dow, S&P, and NASDAQ all saw major losses. The University of Michigan Alumni Association will fund scholarships for more than 300 underrepresented students after the Lead Scholars Program was cut due to Trump-era guidance targeting DEI efforts. Rapper Young Thug's probation is at risk after prosecutors claim he posted a photo of a DA investigator. They've asked the judge to revoke it. He denies any threats, saying he's a good person. And Black Baltimore Mayor Brandon Scott is announcing the spring cleanup and day of service for Saturday, April 26th. Residents and groups are encouraged to register to help beautify neighborhoods. Volunteers can receive free trash bags to support the effort. Get BIN News on demand 24/7 on the iHeartRadio app.
Here we go. The reality check on WBOK 1230 AM.
All right, folks, welcome back. We are Kryptonite over here. Yes, indeed. Welcome back to the reality check. It is, what's today, Thursday?
Today is Thursday.
Today is Thursday.
April 3rd.
Yeah, April the 3rd. Man, March went away like real quick fast.
I mean, we're already in quarter 2.
Yeah.
That's crazy.
Ain't that something?
Yeah.
Let's talk about Saturday. Dr. Bickham, if you could, do the honors and give us what to expect Saturday at these workshops.
Basically, you're going to get a whole bunch of knowledge, whole bunch of wisdom. As a preacher, I got to tell you, people that perish for lack of wisdom and knowledge. So this is what we're trying to do.
That's
to
right.
Educate,
you're a preacher.
Amen.
I'm glad I ain't cussed up in here yet.
We're trying to educate our people. We're going to even have immigrations there. Professor talk about immigrations. That's a big thing right now.
Yeah.
Anybody talking about it that you know?
Everybody saying something about immigration.
But I mean, your rights as a human being.
Right.
A lot of people don't know their rights as far as immigration. We're going to have professors talking about that. Family law, family rights. We do a lot of adoptions at juvenile court. A lot of times the families, they have to get a lawyer because they don't know the process that they have to go through to do adoption.
Family law is like one of the hardest laws to know. You really don't know your rights with family law. And then it's hard, and I don't know if it's because you're looking in the wrong places or whatever, to find family law attorneys. Would you all agree with me on that one or no?
I mean, we're in the legal world, so I could probably recommend you a few family law attorneys.
But if you're on the outside.
No, I get it. Because you know what? I'll tell you, when I did teach high school, I was actually a special education teacher. And,
God bless you.
And I'll always receive that blessing. But, when I went to law school at Tulane, I was really interested in special education law. And I started looking into it, and I could tell you not many special education attorneys exist in the state of Louisiana, let alone New Orleans. And that is also something very, very important that a lot of people don't know their rights.
The only attorney that I saw that was a special education attorney was actually a father that happened to be an attorney, and he was actually representing his son because they didn't have the bus
IEPs and stuff.
I don't know exactly how to put it, but it was something to do with him being able to ride the bus. And he actually sued the system because his son couldn't ride the bus because of, I guess, the equipment they had on that bus. And he won.
People don't, yes.
And so you had major corporations having to change the way that they would pick up, folks with wheelchairs and all of that. I'm not certain exactly what system it is, so I don't want to call it out, at that time. But it was a major corporation. And I was like, wow, he's a what? Special education attorney. And I said, okay, how do you classify yourself as family law, special ed, whatever? How do you classify yourself that and make people understand? Because what we see today is personal injury.
Yes.
That's all we see all day long. First thing in the morning, I'm waking up singing them songs.
Because that's where the money is.
Is that where the money is?
I mean, people are never going to stop having accidents. And typically a lot of people do that on contingency. So the attorney will likely get paid either way. Whereas when you're talking about plaintiff's work, it could be really hard because, a lot of people that need that representation may not have the funds to pay an attorney, which is why we have a lot of nonprofits in New Orleans that are doing really, really excellent work. But, there's only so many of them, so they get overwhelmed pretty quickly. But yeah, we need a lot more people to be doing that work. And I know for me personally, I just didn't see that representation, for lack of a better word, especially when it came to something like special education. But that's just where we kind of have to pave our own lane and make things happen. So yeah.
Where are we when it comes to as a city with spreading what you're learning to the next parish and then to the next parish? And then, because we got 64 parishes, and I'm gonna put this in here too, Dr. Bickham, politics. See, you start laughing. All of this has a political ramification as well, because some folks just want to lock you up and throw you away. But you're coming in and saying, wait a minute, let's sit down and let's work out who are these young folks that may need a second chance, that we can give that second chance to. And that don't go over well with some folks that continuously put their name in the paper saying that they're hard on crime or they're going to be this. Or what's your reasoning? What would you say would be your answer? I'm going after the prosecutor. I'm going after the prosecutor.
Honestly, a lot of it is about just spreading awareness. This day and age, people are glued to their phones. We have more access than we ever had, in the history of humanity. But the question is, are we using it for the right things? And then to further hit on your point, the issues that may plague Orleans Parish are going to be different from Jefferson. They're going to be different from St. John to a certain extent, because those communities are comprised of different types of people with different types of struggles. Right. So, the issues, plaguing our youth in the city or inner city youth is going to be different from the type of crime we may see, say, for example, up in, Bossier City or somewhere like that. That's not as urban, right? But at the end of the day, we all have to come to a commonality, because on a large scheme, coming bills out of our state legislature are affecting all of us, right? So a lot of it just comes from spreading awareness about what's going on here.
How do you take that? And I'm putting this on your back, all right? I just want you to know, I'm already putting this on your back there, buddy. You walked into this one. How do I go to St. John the Baptist, St. Bernard, St. Tammany, St. whatever, and say, hey, we have this program that we want to be able to come into your court system. You tell us what kids that need a second chance that you're willing to give the second chance to. Now, they got to plead guilty, but we want to take them and let a group of their peers tell them what their consequences will be. How would you do that to spread it? Because what works good here in Orleans, it's a little bit different everywhere else. And I don't think I need to elaborate on that one too much. But how much of this program can work in other parishes?
I think Teen Court is a national program. So that in and of itself shows that
we different.
Yeah, not only we're
Louisiana
different, but it's possible.
different.
You have to have the people in the community that are willing to go out and start these programs, that are willing to gather together. I mean, the first step is just, for one, not only with us spreading awareness, and that's why we're here today, but for people to hear that in St. John the Baptist Parish or over in St. Tammany or somewhere like that, to take this and go to their courts, go to their court systems, the people, the lawyers that work there, the people that within this program works from the inside and out.
No. I ain't know I was questioning like that one, Dr. Bickham. Here you go, young man. I got you as a defense. Here we go. I'm saying, how do you, if Dr. Bickham called you up and said, I need you to come in my office, I need to talk to you. Look, I got too much going on. I need you to go to these other parishes and have a conversation with these folks. How will you sell that? Not anybody else. Because now I'm putting it on. That's why I started off with, I'm putting this on your back. How do you do it?
To accomplish that task, the first thing I would do is just me personally. I have this legal background, right? So that means I have access to different networks of people. I'm going to my local bar associations. I'm working my way up into the courthouse so I can be at the table and be at those rooms with those judges that have to deal with these juvenile sentences. with that, I bring what this program is. Dr. Bickham already told you we have had 200 students, kids, young people come through this program, and only 2 have continued in that cycle that we're trying to prevent. I show them the statistics. I show them the videos of what we do. I invite them or members of the community, come on a Saturday. The court's closed. Most things are closed. Come down here and see what we do. See the progress that we're making. See the change in the faces of those young people that we have. Like Dr. Bickham said, from the start, yeah, they may be a little nervous, but by the end, they understand what this process is. They're understanding that not only is me and Clark and Dr. Bickham and all of our other volunteers here to support and uplift them, but we're showing them that there's a different path that they could take. And it just starts with making one choice at a time.
All right, Dr. Bickham, I want you to rate what he just said. Rate him.
I'll give him an A.
What part of this?
One part he left out.
What part did he leave out?
The political part.
There you go.
See,
so I want to see you. I wanted to see you play politics. And how do you play politics? I know that's all going to be.
Yeah.
Dr. Bickham, I'm just actually,
Yes.
I'm being facetious.
That's okay.
Because I know that the majority of this is actually going to be on you. Because you've been doing this forever and a day. And this is not anything new to you. But I'm looking to see at some point in time, you got to play the politics. And I wanted to see your political game. Because I really feel that at some point in time, now I'm kind of merging this together. At some point in time, leadership is going to be up to you. And I think that he's getting y'all trained for that.
Yes.
Am I right?
You're all right. Because, I'm not going to be here forever.
Me neither.
But
we're going to be here a while.
Yeah, but
we
I
ain't
ain't ready to go nowhere now. Don't get me wrong.
Right.
But this is what we have to do as a community.
Right.
These are the ones that's bringing the next generation around.
Yep.
They're the spark plugs, I call them.
So that's the only reason why I just wanted to hear what your political game was at that point in time. And excuse me for calling it a political game, because it ain't a game.
No,
it
it's
really
not.
is not. We're talking about people's lives. And I really wanted to hear that part of how do you get to, if you didn't have Dr. Bickham, how do you get to those folks with sitting down and having a conversation with these judges? Because I hear attorneys all the time tell me, man, I hate going to this parish. Why? Because I got to deal with this judge. And he don't like us coming from one parish to another. So how do you deal with that?
Well, a lot of what we do just in practice in nature is we have to learn how to deal with different types of people with different types of belief systems. But you have to find commonality, because with a program like this, the work that we do, this is applicable to every parish.
Mhm.
Everybody, nobody wants to deal with crime. And much less I can't name one person who doesn't look at the news and sees a young black person who has just thrown their life away due to their life circumstances beyond their control.
Mhm.
That's going to tug at everybody's heartstrings, no matter what background you have, no matter who you are, where you come from. You have to approach it first as just being a person, being a human being.
Okay.
Because this isn't a racial problem. This is a humanity problem that we're having here. And that's the issue that we're having, from the top down in politics in Louisiana. It's different views of humanity on how we have to treat and help people. And, when you take the person out of people, you just have a shell of a human being, like you said, that are just locking up,
Yeah.
But you're taking that part, you're robbing them of their humanity.
Okay. Ms. Perkins?
Yes.
It's your turn. Your political game is?
Ooh.
Don't tell me you don't have one, because I know you.
I mean, no, truthfully, if Dr. Bickham were to ask me that question today or tomorrow,
It's coming. I'm just asking it now, but it's coming.
I think my response right now would be, let's make our program smooth as butter before we even think about going to another parish. And not to say that it's not pretty smooth, but that's why we're here today. We want more volunteers. We have a handful of teens who are very loyal. I mean, they show up every single time, but it's a handful. This program needs to be much bigger because we're doing
how many
great work.
would you say, if you had to put a number to where you want to be, how many would you say that y'all need now?
I want every single teen in New Orleans to show up. I want there to be a wait list. I want to have to alternate y'all. We'll let you know when it's your turn again. I want it to be an overflow of teens who want to be involved in this program.
Okay, but give me a number.
How many teens are there in New Orleans? We could Google it, maybe.
Miss Perkins,
Yes.
give me a number. How many do we start with?
Well, right, we've started and we have maybe about consistently
Now you
maybe
have
about
how-
we
this
have
is how
about
many you now- how you have now.
yeah, how many we have now? We have about maybe 12.
Okay. So that 12, where do you want to see and how in increments should it grow? Okay, 12. Well, the next time that we do this, we need 24. After we get to 24, do we need 48? How many of those young folks do we see grow this program?
You see, that question's just hard to answer to me because, again, there's no such thing as too many. If we get more, then maybe we could have more hearings, instead of just our 2 hearings in a week, because that's our capacity. We could expand the number of hearings. There's no limit on how many teens. And again, even if all of the teens, if we have thousands of teens that have signed up to do teen court and we can't all physically be in the same space, then we'll alternate. You come once a month, the others will come this time in the month, and we could just figure it out. But there is no max number of teens or even other community members, because it's also the mentorship program, and not even just for the, I hate to call them defendants, but the teens who have pled guilty, not even just mentorship for them, but the teens that are volunteers and come, they are like my mentees. They'll text me. They'll be like, Clark, where were you? Or Miss Perkins, where were you last week? Like we hold each other accountable. So it's really, really great. And I would love to see more people involved before we start knocking on other parishes' doors.
Don't be checking me.
I'm just saying.
Don't be checking me. Laura, why you brought her? Dr. Bickham, let's ask that question with you. Because realistically, I know there's a level you have to get to, that you want to get to. How do we get there? And I'm not putting this as pressure. I'm trying to get it out here more so, and saying somebody that has never heard of it. This might be the opportunity to say, this is what we need right now. I'm looking for 10 more kids, young folks. I'm looking for 20 more kids. Somebody's listening right now that's saying, I never heard of this, but this would be something great for my daughter, my son, my granddaughter, or my grandbaby to get in contact with them so that we can come up to that. That was the main reason why I was asking for a number, because you never know who's listening. I get that every day. People that walk up to me and they don't see this shirt on, but they hear me say, yeah, can I get 10 on pump 5? I'd be like, I know your voice. They'll be like, yeah. And then I start talking in my little Mickey Mouse voice. But I'm just looking at, how do we grow this program, and what do we use? Use the resource that you're on now. You never know who's listening.
Well, what we're trying to do is educate the ones that we have. And they are our feeders. They're all at different schools. We get them to recruit at their schools. They get them to, whatever we learn or whatever they learn at Teen Court, to bring them back to their school. Also, we tell them about, go to your neighborhood. Tell some of your friends, hey, all these young people that's, not the volunteers, but the ones that have did a crime, when they get with that light bulb come on for them, and they got something, they found something, tell your friends. Sometimes I sit in the background because that old guy don't know anything, but these young people know.
Yeah.
And they'll listen to their friends.
Right.
When Clark and Tyson get their team together for a case, these young people are listening to them. They are really taking in, they're absorbing all the stuff that they're saying. Then they go back and interpret it to their friends.
Yeah, I'm scared of Clark.
And they interpret it. So
Clark
now, we can't get into the school system like we want, but we still do truancy hearings. When it comes to the defense program, you got to realize juvenile court has a lot of restorative justice programs. It's not just teen court. And we all overlap and work with each other. We got the girl mentoring program, boys mentoring program.
So tell me about that, okay? Because you're telling me you have these programs, but what does was it the mentoring program? Whether we're talking about the girl, we got to take a break. Yeah. Okay. Well, I tell you what. Let's keep that thought. We'll come back. You got some more time?
Yes, sir.
Okay. All right. More coming up, y'all. Everybody hold tight.
Trying to grow your business or increase traffic to your location? We can help. WBOK 1230 AM has a number of solutions that will meet your individual needs. Give one of our consultants a call today at 504-582-9420 or email us at info@wbok1230.com. And remember, an investment with WBOK is an investment in our community. Call today.
NOLA Public Schools is excited for the rest of this 24-25 school year journey with our families, watching our students dive into learning, growth, and success. As the school year continues, our dedicated educators are focused on keeping every student engaged and motivated. Let's keep embracing new challenges, celebrating achievements, and supporting each other to make the rest of this year even more impactful. Stay connected with your school and NOLA PS through our social media channels for updates and resources. We're here to help our scholars attend today, achieve tomorrow.
The National World War II Museum, located in the Warehouse District of New Orleans. The National World War II Museum tells the story of America's experience in the war that changed the world, why it was fought, how it was won, and what it means today. Visit them online at www.nationalww2museum.org for time tickets and safety information.
WBOK and LCMC Health are proud to present Keeping You Well Cafe. 60 minutes with LCMC Health, where the doctors speak directly to the people of New Orleans. LCMC Health is committed to improving the quality of care here in New Orleans, the Gulf South, and beyond. The Keeping You Well Cafe is another way for LCMC Health to engage with the community. At the Keeping You Well Cafe, LCMC Health joins WBOK and local businesses to answer your questions about wellness and health.
Making a difference in the community. WBOK 1230 AM. The Reality Check on WBOK 1230 AM.
All right, folks, welcome back. Welcome back. Where were we, Dr. Bickham? We were saying something, too. You know, I got amnesia. We were talking about the numbers, talking about the mentor program, and you said for girls and for young men, too. Please tell me more about that, the mentor program.
Well, the mentors program stems out of what the judges wanted to see in their courtrooms. Too many times they had no program to recommend these young people to. Mm-hmm. So they started writing grants or having people write grants. So Judge Darrensburg, Judge Smith, the Chief Judge, Judge Anderson, Cook Calvin, they went out and found people that could help us write grants. Mm-hmm. So we could get them funding and get the material to teach people how to go out and mentor. Mm. It's not something that you could just find in a book somewhere. Right. You got to, have a special calling for it. So we have some people that have a special calling. Plus, the judges are there checking on, make sure all these programs coordinate one with another. Say, for instance, somebody's in teen court. If he's a young man, he could also be in the boys mentoring program at the same time. Okay. Or if you're a girl, you could be in the girls program and at the same time be in teen court. Have an overlap, but that's all. It was all about getting everybody together on one accord, and so these young people have something to, as a foundation. We call it putting tools in the toolbox. Right. That's how the judges call it.
Right. I was wondering though, but part of that, and I'm sorry to cut you off, but one of the things too, are we having the moms, the dads, the aunties, the grandmoms calling and saying, "I got to do something with this kid. They need to be in something. Can we put them in this mentoring program?" Are you getting some of that?
Sometime. That's why we going to St. Augustine on Saturday. Okay. 11 o'clock. Come on out there and see what we're doing. Mm-hmm. We have to go to the community. We just can't sit in the courthouse.
You can't be in four walls.
It's working, but who knows about it? Right. Did you know about it? Nope. So this is what we're doing. Clark, for a better name, she came up with this program. Mm-hmm. Know your rights. She said, "I did this before, Dr. What you think about it?" So I said, "Wow, that's awesome. This is our second annual event. We got people coming to talk about your fifth and your 14th amendments. Do you know your amendments?"
I know mine.
But see, this is how we educate our community.
But I got a lot of folks that really don't understand and don't know the amendments. And a lot of them don't even know that, just the Miranda rights and everything too, because they give up their rights to to be silent all the time by just saying something.
And that's why we're doing this. That's why we're trying to get everybody to come out just to see what we're talking about. Get this information that you're going to need one day or another. And at the same time, we're trying to grow. Once they say, oh, that was good. Well, where can I get more information? Well, come on to Saturday.
Exactly.
So, Dr. Bickham, I got to say that this has been an interesting conversation. I'm not done with it, but it's an interesting conversation because, and I want to put this in a positive light, and that is, I'm watching you right now, and it's like fire coming out.
I told you.
Why is that?
Well,
it's. I'm sorry, you just excited.
It's my calling.
Y'all see what I see?
I
always see
movement.
it.
It's my calling.
Moving in that chair.
It's my calling.
In a minute, I'm gonna come say, "Can I sit over there?" And I'm gonna let you sit over here.
It's my calling.
This is your
for
calling.
young people. Like Ryan said earlier, been doing this for 30, 40 years.
Yeah.
Working with children. I taught school. I taught at Clark when it was uptown at the old Durham building.
Yes, indeed.
You know, but this was always trying to save young people. What could I do to help them?
Yeah.
So I had to go where they were. And they was at the courthouse. And I was with another program called ODAP, Orleans Detention Alternative Program. I did ankle monitoring, and then God just let this fall into my lap. And I said, well, I can't do this by myself. I need help.
Right.
And so looking around, I used to go speak different places. I'd go speak at Dillard. Who's in the classroom? Tyson.
You're Dillard Grant?
Oh, yes, sir.
Yes, indeed.
So he came. I talked him into coming. So he came. He started mentoring. Went away to law school. Came back. I had a friend of mine, Assistant Dean Tanya Jupiter. I got to mention her name.
Yeah.
Good friend of mine. Asked to come up and speak to her class. I said, okay, yeah, come. I get a Clark Perkins over there. So she was in school. She graduated. She came back. See, it's a revolving cycle. I take it and I pass it on. They're taking it and they're passing it on.
But to Dr. Bickham's excitement, I'll tell you, it kind of fell in my lap too, Teen Court, and I'm just so blessed by it. But I received a packet in which, when they were looking for a facilitator in 2022, and I applied to be the facilitator because it just aligned with all my goals. I told you I was a high school teacher before, but I was in law school, and I was like, oh, this is perfect for me. And I applied, and they wanted somebody that could have started sooner, and I couldn't. But I was also in my role as Chief Justice, is what they call me, of the Tulane Moot Court Program, which was Tulane Law's largest student organization. And I was like, oh, this is perfect. I said, we're going to get involved with Teen Court. So I send Dr. Bickham an email. We've never met before. And I was like, Dr. Bickham, here's my idea. I would love to meet with you. He's like, I'll be there tomorrow. And he came to Tulane Law School the next day and was fired up just like that. And I was like, oh, my goodness. I said, we're involved. How do we get this started? And then that's how Tulane Law got involved. And obviously Loyola Law is right across the street. And they weren't going to just watch and not get involved, which we love. So now Loyola Law is involved, and it just keeps growing. But I'm telling you, it's because you could come up with an idea, and maybe you won't execute on it if, the other party just isn't as reciprocal or they're not as engaged. But Dr. Bickham's excitement and energy and passion, you can't do anything but get involved.
Yeah.
Seriously.
So I'm gonna use this part of the show for a little bit of a think tank, okay? Because you all know better than I do. If you had to think off the cuff, and I know that you haven't thought about this already, I'm just gonna bring it out at you real quick. What organizations need to be involved right now? If you had to think about it, what organization? This ain't no calling them out, but this is, I'd love to see, 100 Black Men, or the Divine Nine organizations get involved.
And that's what I was about to tell you, because Tyson and I are both members of the Divine Nine. And so Tyson is a Kappa. I'm an AKA, and and I'm in a grad chapter here. But that's one thing and that's one thing I do. Especially how I just told you, I brought Tulane over. I like to merge my communities together. So it's going to happen when we get around to it. I'll definitely be pitching it at the next AKA meeting, get them involved. And then Tyson and I are both members of the Marnette Legal Society, which is basically our legal organization in New Orleans that consists of Black attorneys, judges, just members. It's a very phenomenal organization. We're going to get them involved.
But I'm also looking at organizations that, in the sense of they have that reach to the kids, to the young people. I'm talking about having a conversation, Dr. Bickham, with Larry Barabino at NORD, having another conversation and talking to the folks with 100 Black men, having these conversations that touch these young folks, because even though that you may have to look at it and say who we're recruiting, what we're recruiting here is somebody that you're going to be able to say has consistency, knows the system. They already know this is what they're going to be going through if they have to go through a court system.
Yes.
So those conversations I would like to see, and I'm somebody sitting on the outside in. But I would like to see you go to the barbershops.
Yeah.
Hair salons.
Yeah.
They gonna be there.
No, that's very fair. Yeah. And I had actually pitched that one time for us to start going to the schools, getting more, and going on like a community tour.
Going with Susan to the high schools and setting up, tables.
Yeah.
Saying, hey, we're recruiting. Because that's what we do.
Well, and that's what I do. Right. I have a.
Well, you're out there.
Yeah,
I know you're out there.
That's what I do, and if they are available, I let them know. Hey, the school have a workshop. A school have a career day. We go to those career days. Well, who are y'all hiring? We're not hiring anybody. We're getting some information.
Right.
That's what they do. I have a spiel I tell everybody. Look, I go to baby showers. I go to barber shops. I go to beauty parlors. I go to pole dancing parties. They say what? They got children that need help.
Hold on there a minute. Hold on. You went too far.
Hey, wherever the children are, I'm going.
Hold on, bro. I need you to check him for that. I think there's a whole thing of ones in his pocket there. I'm like, what's going on?
But that's what Clark and Tyson and I, that's what we're about. Wherever the need is, we're willing to go.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's all about
but don't
the
go
need.
as a zaddy, though. I'm just saying. Don't be going as no zaddy there. But how do we reach them? That was my whole point.
That's a very fair point.
Reaching them and getting to them has been something. Laura can attest to this. That has been put on me in my career in radio so many different times that I wouldn't sleep good at night. So, and I'm not bragging. I'm not. But how old are you?
26.
Yeah, you're too young. He don't so 26. About, and Laura's going to say, yeah, that's true. We did a program that got 70,000 kids in the Superdome. Sold it out. Called Teen Summit.
Oh, I love that.
Awesome.
Yeah.
That's amazing. Who is one of my students.
Okay.
Summit was huge.
70,000.
Big.
I knew Laura.
This is exciting because seeing it in action and seeing it happen,
yes.
and now seeing where teen court and where the whole court system, the juvenile court system is, and their aspirations is for that level of greatness and of penetration into the community. I think the benefit that I saw in media, and that's why we're here. And when you were leading the charge at those commercial stations, radio stations that were so powerful here in New Orleans, I don't even know if they're still as powerful now.
No.
As they were
they became corporate.
Yeah, in the late 90s and early 2000s, the call to action, you can put things up on those stations in one day and they can drive sales, thousands of dollars worth of
call me
sales.
up and say, hey, I got this concert coming, and we need your help. Okay, Laura, what you got? I got this one, da-da-da-da. Really? Yeah, and we need to sell these tickets out. All right, Laura, this is what we're going to do. We're going to put it on the air. We're going to give some tickets away, but we're going to do a promotion, da-da-da-da. Only thing I expected from Laura was like, I'll be over there to bring you the tickets in just a few minutes. And that's the cohesiveness that you have to have with other organizations. Because I knew I could pick up the phone and say, Laura, I need something. And Laura didn't say, hell no, I ain't going to get it. Laura said, come on, let's do it.
Yeah.
Let's do it. And the program that you have here, I don't know the difference between here, and I keep hearing you all say, we got them all over the country. But what's the difference in how you set up New Orleans compared to what's happening all over the country to make it something that everybody else wants to copy?
Right. Well, this is our inaugural effort right now.
Yes.
We're
I ain't trying to put the pressure on you. I'm not trying
no, the pressure is good.
Yes, I am.
The pressure is welcomed. The Know Your Rights conference this Saturday is really it's the second annual. It's a flagpole that we're placing, and we're placing it at St. Augustine High School, which I think is pretty impactful. Where it's free, the refreshments will be served. We're inviting the whole community, teens, community members, parents, other lawyers.
What's the time frame?
11 a.m. to 3.
Okay.
And we have a whole host of speakers, great speakers. And so we're planting that flag. I think when you think of media, mass media, and you think of a governmental entity like Teen Court, because it's juvenile court, they don't have huge budgets to promote. They don't have a budget to promote. Really, it's kind of like they're like, no, that's a bad word. So we have to raise awareness, community awareness it's called, and reach families and young people of New Orleans where they are at. And I think that's why we're so happy to be here on WBOK, because you have such a strong community reach.
Do they need to sign up in advance or
no, they just show up at St. Augustine, 11 a.m. I think we're going to start registration around 10:30. Okay. The Know Your Rights is really, really important. I think Clark has mentioned this, and Tyson has mentioned about the and Dr. Bickham said it's a human rights. Knowing when you walk down the street, if you're arrested or picked up by a law enforcement or ICE, that you know what to do and what to say and what not to say. And so that's kind of the focus a little bit of the conference, along with Teen Court and spreading information about Teen Court. And Dr. Bickham mentioned the array of programs that Orleans Parish Juvenile Court has, which many people do not know about. Gerard, so you're absolutely right that it's kind of like a project that the community as citizens should know more about. The GROW program for the girls mentorship, the Mellow for the boys mentorship, the FINS program. You asked the question about how do families, if I have a son, a daughter who's kind of getting wayward or doing something weird, what can I do? You can call the Families in Need of Services program at the court, which is for families who are experiencing, kids kind of going left, and before they commit crimes. So if they need if it's mental health, I think the court also has started a mental health court, which is really important because kids are showing up who are committing different types of infractions because they're struggling with mental illness as well. So Orleans Parish is, and under the leadership of the judges are leading this charge. Judge Narensburg, Judge Candace Anderson, and Judge Smith, and Desiree Cook Calvin, and they're writing grants to raise money to spread the word for the community.
Is this a new way of justice? Is this the new way
it's
that we're seeing?
It's restorative, it's preventative, it's
because everything at one point was, go to court, lock you up.
Right. And Judge Narensburg always says that he's one of the sternest judges in the whole circuit, and he's about advancing community safety. So he's not going, light on anyone, and he believes that these programs could be preventative, which is the whole point, to stop crime, as Tyson said, to eliminate crime from our community and eliminate that pipeline of young people getting into little infractions, then they get into juvenile court, then they get locked up, then they get to Orleans Parish Prison, then they get to Angola. That pipeline is real here. So, so the judges and the mentors and the program coordinators like Dr. Bickham are working really, really hard at finding ways to divert. I think that's what it is, diversion. Diversion programs, and we want to raise awareness, and that's the reason that we're doing this event on Saturday. So we invite everyone to come out, and if there's any questions that they may have, the people are going to be in the room that can answer them, and we want to educate people. We're entering a very interesting time around rights and the Constitution.
Yep.
And maybe some changes, or some folks are saying that they want to change the Constitution.
Right.
Let me ask my two attorneys here. Clark, if you had to tell me what's the biggest mistake that young folks make not knowing their rights, what would that be? When you're getting ready to get picked up by the police.
Oh, I mean, that's easy. Just talking way too much. Like, the first thing is to be quiet. Do not say anything. If you cannot afford representation, it will be provided for you. Be quiet.
Just be quiet.
Be quiet.
Tyson?
I would echo the same thing, because that's where it starts. When you get to talking, you continue talking, and then you're dropping names about other people that's talking. The next thing you know, they have your phone, and now they're going through that because you kept talking and you're giving evidence and you're giving these things, but you're not considering the fact that there are procedures and laws in place for them to eventually get those things, right? So all of that has to be proper. So don't go in there waving your rights as soon as you encounter the police, because you're entitled to due process.
Their rights, they don't realize.
No,
They don't realize it at all.
Really?
They're just panicked. They're scared. They just don't want to be where they are. They don't want to have this interaction with the police officer. So sometimes people, they just lose their cool, and then they just start talking and talking and talking. And as an attorney, I can tell you the worst thing, I definitely don't want my client to go in court and just start talking. No, I need you to be quiet and to be calm, right? I need you to be calm, because that's what everybody needs to see. Now, if you're cool, calm, collected, a lot of times also the interaction with the police officer won't escalate. Black and brown men are losing their lives just panicking off of emotion. The police officers as well, being too confrontational, or the police officers coming at them a little too rough. A lot of these things can be prevented if you just stay cool, calm, collected. Know your rights, know what you need to say. Like Dr. Bickham said earlier, the police approach you, as a young man, don't say anything. Say, my mom's name is this, my dad's name is this, I live here, this is their phone number, call them. And that's the end of the
That's all you need to say.
That's it.
I don't have to go in my wallet, give you my ID.
I'm not going to say all that, because, they have a right to request identification, right? But things get more complex when they start to do those kind of, stop and frisk kind of situations where they're patting you down and they're inspecting you, trying to see if you have any, drug paraphernalia or any kind of, weapons or things that may cause harm. A lot of people don't realize, when they get pulled over for a simple traffic stop, what actions give the police the right to go and inspect your vehicle without a warrant? One, marijuana smoking.
Right.
Right. I mean, I'm driving down the street all the time.
My
what's
car,
that smell?
My car smells good. And I'm like, wait, what's going on? But people don't realize.
I saw you on the street.
No, you didn't see me. You did not see me. I guarantee you that. But yeah, it's simple things like that people need to realize and be cognizant of just in everyday life.
We got to take another break, and we're going to wrap up. More coming up, y'all. I tell you, this has been like a very enlightening conversation. More coming up next.
AURN News.
I'm Ebony McMorris.
Effective at midnight, we will impose a 25% tariff on all foreign-made automobiles.
Additional tariffs include imposing a 10% baseline tariff on all imports, with steeper rates targeting key partners like Japan at 24%, South Korea at 25%, the European Union at 20%, and China facing 54% tariff. The president targeted over 60 countries in retaliatory tariffs. Mark Carney, Prime Minister of Canada, reacting.
We're going to fight these tariffs with countermeasures.
There's even pushback within his own party. Kentucky Senator Rand Paul says
Tariffs have also led to political decimation. So they're not only bad economically, they're bad politically.
While the president was making the announcement, financial markets reacted and U.S. stock futures plunged. The question remains, is the president pushing the U.S. into a recession, and how much can the people take? For AURN News, I'm Ebony McMorris.
It's Off the Top with Norman Robinson on WBOK 1230 AM.
Deceitful, exasperating, incompetent, and just right out lying are all words that come to mind when thinking about the Trump administration's attempt to explain how a high-level classified war conversation about a planned U.S. military bombing attack against the Houthi terrorists in Yemen ended up on an unsecured private chat app called Signal. The document ended up being sent to the chief editor at Atlantic Magazine. And that, my friends, is jaw-dropping. The Atlantic revealed that the planned attack in Yemen was being discussed in text messages among National Security Advisor Mike Waltz, Defense Secretary Pete Hegseth, members of the intelligence community, and other Trump administration officials. Defense Secretary Hegseth and the White House, among others in the group, scrambled to contain the fallout. Hegseth told reporters that, quote, they even changed the title to Attack Plans because they know it's not war plans, end quote. Not so, says The Atlantic in its latest news article, reporting that the text messages laid out the exact time the attack plans were supposed to launch, what time the bombs were to strike, and when the drones were to be launched. The magazine also revealed that the text messages included comments from Defense Secretary Hegseth and others discussing their dislike for our European allies. Not surprising, our allies view the unsecured group chat as a security breach that could factor in on their decisions about sharing intelligence information with the United States. Allies aside, I can only imagine what such a reckless and irresponsible act by high-level defense and intelligence official does to the morale and confidence of the rank and file of the U.S. military, who depend on these top-level officials for their safety and security. Will anyone in the Trump administration be held accountable for this disaster? You would be held responsible if you shared a confidential business plan like this, and they should be held responsible too. This is Norman Robinson, Off the Top.
New Orleans, are you ready? A fresh voice in the city is here, bringing you the beats, the culture, and the stories that matter. From local music and food to real talk on what's happening in the streets, we've got you covered. Stay tapped in. Follow us on all platforms at WBOK 1230 for the latest updates and exclusive content. Your city, your culture, your news. Don't just hear about it, be about it. Follow us at WBOK 1230 now.
Hi, this is Cary Grant. Let's elevate every Tuesday through Thursday from 6 to 7 p.m. as we discuss the community, the country, and the world, from politics to current events and sports. We look forward to your input and continuing the quality programming on your community station, WBOK. Join us every Tuesday through Thursday, 6 to 7 p.m. on Elevated Conversations, the Arnie and Cary Show.
Do you know what United Way can do for you and your community? Find out by listening to United Way and You every Thursday at noon on WBOK 1230. United Way continues to fight for the most vulnerable members of the community. Find out how this Thursday and every Thursday at noon.
Join me, Dr. Jaquil Ross of New Schools for New Orleans for Talk That, NOLA Education. This Monday, we'll be joined by NORD and New Orleans Public Library officials to learn about their summer programs for our youth. Be sure to tune in Monday at 12:30 p.m. on 12:30 a.m.
When you talk, we listen. WBOK 1230 AM. The Reality Check on WBOK 1230 AM.
Yep. All right, folks, welcome back. Welcome back. We going back through history, boy. It was fun back then, though, Laura. It was really fun back then in those days. All right, a couple of minutes here, and Dr. Bickham, I do want to make sure that I give you and your good friends and your good folks that are working here. Let me tell you this. This is my first time meeting you, Clark, and my first time meeting you, Tyson. I got to say I'm proud of both of you.
Oh, thank you very much.
You all keep doing the work that you're doing because this is much needed. And I know that this man is proud of you because he ain't stopped moving since he been in here. I already know that. And as you can tell, me and Laura, we go back. We go back. We got stories. Probably could write a book. Probably could write a book. What's next? I know we're talking about Saturday.
Yes.
But let's recap everything that we just talked about here. I know y'all supposed to be here for 30 minutes? And we here for an hour and a half at least.
It's been that long?
Yeah.
Wow, it don't seem it.
It
seem like it.
What do you do next? What is it? This one is a workshop that you're going to do Saturday, correct?
Correct. Yeah.
Giving the details again.
Well, we're going to ask people to come in. They're going to register. Now, the registration period is just for, we to contact you. After the event is over with, we could call and ask questions, get some Q&A from you, what you thought about it, how could we do things better? What do you would like for us to see, what you wanted to see, or what we didn't bring out for you? If you have any questions about something that happened, can I get in touch? How you get in touch with, say, one of the speakers or something of that nature, or get more information?
Do you have a list of the speakers already?
Yes.
As you can tell, I didn't go by this. I was like, I got questions.
There it is.
This is it? Okay.
All right, yeah, okay. Now, we're going to start off with Judge Dansbury. He's the brainchild of this thing.
And he's the chief judge for juvenile court, isn't he?
No, Candace Bates Anderson, the chief judge.
All right. Yeah.
But he's one of the instrumental judges with these programs. He loves working with programs. He's the one that got me interested in teen court. Took me to Vegas to a conference on teen court.
Okay.
And that's where it started at. That's where my heart started beating at teen court in Vegas. But we also have, like I say, professors come and talk about the Fourth Amendment, Fifth Amendment, and the 14th Amendment. Her name is Ms. Carolyn Cooper. She's from Tulane. She's going to come and talk. She was with us before. She brought a lot of things to the forefront, so people say, wow, I didn't know that, as far as your amendment rights. Okay, then we have Troy Bichet. She do the Restorative Justice Circle. Man, it's awesome when you see how they involve getting in talk about one thing and go all the way around and come back to the front and tell you how you could help yourself in doing things like that. Also, we're going to take a little break. Then we're going to have professors that are going to talk about from the law clinic at Loyola. They're going to talk about different things there, family law, family children's rights, things like that. We need to know about our rights.
Right.
The families need to know that. And so then you're going to have attorneys about attorney Jessica Gutierrez, and Jessica, this other lady, they're going to talk about immigration rights and restoration, things like that. Other resources they're going to give out for people that need to know that kind of information. We're going to have a mock trial. That's when we shine. They're going to show what teen court is all about, how you could get involved as a young person involved in teen court, and how you could lead to not just trying to be a lawyer, public speaking. We pick every time we have teen court, somebody else is the jury foreperson.
Okay.
And they got to speak. Or what happened in the jury room? Well, judge, these are the recommendations. So everybody get a chance. Some of the quietest people, when they get that chance to speak, wow, they speak, and they don't realize that they're speaking. Okay. Then we're gonna have this Professor Snowden. Man, this guy's awesome. He's gonna talk about jury and jury rights in the legal system. He's gonna bring it home. See, we put him at the end for a reason.
So you got a full day
yes.
of conversation. This is conversation that, everybody needs to know about. And this is going to happen at St. Aug, correct?
11 o'clock.
11 o'clock.
To 3 o'clock.
Till 3 o'clock. And it's free.
Free. Knowledge ain't free anymore.
Yeah.
They're trying to take the little knowledge we got out of the books.
Yeah.
So come get some free knowledge, some free wisdom.
And moms, dads, uncles,
Everybody,
aunties,
great grandma.
everybody
Yes.
need to come on and learn and have that conversation with your child too.
You know, I just want to tell you, at our last session, our first session we had, Ms. Caroline spoke about the Fifth and the 14th Amendments. Some parents say, I never knew that. I mean, some of the parents say, I didn't know I didn't have to go through this or do that or do this. You know, they don't know. Why? There's a lot of parents never had no interaction with the police.
And I think most folks get it really twisted when they start talking about knowing the amendments and your constitutional rights and things of that sort, because all they want to do is quote, "Oh, I have the right to carry." You know, we're talking about our Second Amendment. That's all. We don't know the rest of them. So that's the conversation that I think that we need to have. But look, I know I got to get out of here, but let's make it a point to come back and have some more conversations.
Let's come back after the event, the conference is over with, and tell you some of the highlights.
Okay.
Yeah.
That'll work. Good
and
to
your
see
good
you.
friend Clark will be with us for sure.
You know that. So
He said he
what's his
scared
name?
me.
Danny. Get her. Tyson, thank you, brother. Ms. Clark.
Don't be scared. Thank you so much, though. We
I'm
really
scared
appreciate your
I'm
time.
scared of you. I know your daddy. Tell Chuck we said hello to you.
I will.
Miss Laura, thank you, dear. Always good to see you. I ain't seen you in a bunch of Sundays, so we got to change that. And Dr. Bickham.
My pleasure.
My pleasure, sir. Thank you so much. All right, coming up, Chuck, let's see, who in here next? Carrie and Arnie coming in next? Okay, they're coming in next. Don't y'all go nowhere.